The late night Nate sessions. Welcome back. Oh, we had to go live, homie. Did you think I wasn't? Oh, we have to go live. Let me get straight to it. Good evening, everybody. I know it's a special broadcast of the Nathan Ivy Show. I'm calling it Late Night Nate. Anything after 10 p.m., I call it the Late Night Nate Show. Welcome to Late Night Nate. I'm your host, Nathan Ivy. And it's some big news that we got to share. The community got a big win. And of course, I must acknowledge the impact that the Nathan Ivy Show and the Choppers had on that local discussion as well. If you're not aware, the Cincinnati Public School Board decided tonight, and I listened to every bit of it, every bit of the conversation I listened to. It was quite revealing. It was an exercise in our democracy. Props to all of the people involved. Shout out to Mike Morosky and all the school board members that I think voted for common sense as it relates to Walnut Hills. And now that they've made this vote, it really calls into question their vote about going back to virtual learning. Going back to in-class or blended learning for any of the Cincinnati public schools. This show was tearless and fearless, my friends. We were on the front line of trying to raise awareness and give a voice to the concerns of the parents and the community as it related to this. To me, this was not a small matter. This was about life and death. Nothing less than life and death was at stake. This was a life and death decision. And while there'll be many people out there that will overlook the impact of the Nathan Ivy Show, the little independent show that could, we know the truth. We understand the impact that we had. And I want to thank all of the folks that were a part of those broadcasts. I'll be reaching out to school board members tonight to see if we can get them on to talk about what this decision means and what we can expect. I think this is a win for public health. I'll say it again. This is a win for public health. Please take a second to like and in particular share this show. We're calling it Late Night Nate. Late Night Nate. If you don't know, the Cincinnati School Board has decided that Walnut Hills will remain virtual. Now, I saw some people on my friends list on my timeline who were asking questions like, well, why is Walnut Hills special? It's not that Walnut Hills is special. It's just that Walnut Hills is unique in terms of the population density, right, in relationship to the size of the school building. That's what the difference is. And it should, the students, the parents, and the staff should not have to put their life in jeopardy through no fault of their own. Now, you know me, I feel this way about all the CPS. I'll be honest with you. I don't think any of CPS should have went back. We don't have to, I don't give a damn about what these other school districts do. So what? We are Cincinnati. We are supposed to look at Cincinnati different. And for me, when it comes to my family, I don't know about you. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I err on the side of caution. I'm okay with being wrong about certain decisions if I come down on safety. All right. That's how I am as a father and as a husband. Well, as a member of the community, how could I be any different in terms of, projecting that to what should happen with our schools? I think that the CPS did the right thing. They came to their senses. I'm glad to see it. I had conversations with all the school board members except for one, and it didn't make a lot of sense. And none of them could successfully articulate it. And the reason why is because they were trying to defend the indefensible. What came out tonight, and I was told if you don't know, I did some video interviews. I was outside of Mayerson Academy from about 4 to about 5:30 p.m. today. Your eyes and ears on the streets. I was talking with some of the concerned parents who were out there, and they were sharing their opinions with me. I did a video, which at this point is a little bit, it might be redundant, but I might play it for you in the morning. Just want to make sure that I put some final touches on it and then make sure that it's processed properly. You may see it in the morning, but at this point, I think that common sense prevailed as it relates to Walnut Hills. And again, it begs the question as to why the school board made this decision across the board anyway. Doesn't make any sense. I was glad to see that Mike Morosky brought up some of the same issues and concerns that we had here on the show. Why would you set up a set of criteria and tell us that these are the criteria that you're going to use and then abandon the criteria and then look at parents like we crazy because you By you, I'm talking about the school board didn't stand up for the criteria that you set. I'll stop doing that because my camera's going crazy trying to make sure it finds the focus. There it is. Camera's going crazy. So please do everybody a favor and please like and share. Please like and share this live stream. Please like and share this live stream. So I think it's a big win for public health. I'll say it again. I think it's a big win for common sense. I was glad to see that the vast majority, I think and I didn't hear, I might have missed maybe one phone call from the public phase, but I only counted 2 people of all of the folks that were chiming in during the public comment phase that were like, yeah, Walnut Hills should go back. I'm glad about this. Okay. Everybody else, including parents, students, members of the community are like, what are you doing, school board? What are you doing? It was an avalanche of logic that they just couldn't resist. And I was glad to see it. It made perfect sense. And to be honest with you, now that they've made this decision with Walnut Hills, it really begs into question their decision about the whole district, which I and many other people told you from day one, it didn't make sense. I don't give a damn about what I just don't even understand what the argument was. Again, I can only surmise from the conversations I had that these school board members were starting at a place of getting back to school as quickly as possible, and safety was a lesser concern. I even had at least one school board member, maybe 2, admit that. Oh, there's a lot of concerns. Safety is just one of them. Wait a minute, it's a pandemic. What do you mean? Safety is just one of them. And then in terms of just the logic, I mean, if you're someone who's pro-education and you're really about making sure that the students have continuity and that the students have access to all of the things they're going to need to be academically successful, why would you put them in a position where they're going to spend less time face-to-face, even virtually face-to-face, with the teacher? It don't make sense. It makes no sense, none whatsoever. And so what came out of that is that the school board and perhaps the school board and the superintendent entered into maybe a verbal agreement or a written agreement with the governor or the state of Ohio saying that they will continue with this plan. Now, when I asked the school board members, none of them admitted that, because I could tell that there was some kind of undercurrent. There was something that was guiding their logic that they just weren't articulating. Now, I can understand that. Now that that's on the table, all it took was 3-4 hours in a school board meeting. It was interesting. Shout out to all the people involved, but man, you could see that, that time, it was a couple things happening. You got the snow apocalypse outside, because for Cincinnatians, 3 inches of snow is like 13 inches. Cincinnati gets 3 inches of snow. Oh Lord, don't let us get 4 inches of snow. Oh my God. Cincinnatians will act like it's 24 inches of snow. So you had the snow apocalypse happening outside of the American Academy. And then inside the American Academy, they were going into what? Hour number 4? They was tired as hell. Superintendent was getting snappy. What did she say? Something snappy. Like, well, maybe we should just go to these other school districts and ask them to not be successful or something. Like, sis, chill out. Chill out. We don't need all that. We're talking about life and death here. Pull yourself together. You making 6 figures. You'll be okay, sis. Chill with all that. And then what? And then Carolyn Jones said, I got a headache. I got a headache. We all got headaches. I have a headache too, because I'm worried about, see, my camera's trying to find me. There you go. Because I'm worried about all the parents and the teachers had headaches as well. Now, I would be happier if this was district wide. Much happier. Much happier. To me, that's just perfect sense. I don't give a damn about all these little rules and calculations coming in with these outdated Duke University studies. I was so glad to see that people were chiming in who actually had a scientific background that was actually breaking down some of these same studies. I don't know why the school board think they're the only ones that got college degrees. There's a lot of folks out here who went to college. There's a lot of folks out here know how to read a study. You understand what methodology is. There's a lot of folks out there like that. So we got to use our collective intelligence and bring it to bear from time to time. But I thought it was a big win for the community. The only sad note is that it's not district-wide. Quite honestly, it should have been district-wide. What's up, Damon Lynch? You said tuning in from Mexico. What? Angela writes, good evening, Nate. That's late night, Nate. Anything after 10 p.m., that's late night, Nate time. Damon writes, put my daughter in school down here. Her first day was yesterday. She is 3. Really? Alicia writes, late night with Nathan and the Choppers. That's right, late night, Nate. Damon writes, in Mexico, quarantine. Hold on, I just got a text message here. Oh, it was some stuff that came out tonight, boy. It was some stuff that came out. Did you say the treasurer said 60 million from the governor and another 20 million? Is that right? Is that right? It was interesting what came out tonight. I was glad to see that Mike Morosky didn't back down, because there was a point where they was trying to like make him back down and be specific about his motion. It just felt like it was all intended to make him back away from it, but he did not. I was glad to see it. I was glad to see that Ryan Messer stood up. He voiced his concerns on this show. I was glad to see he stood up and voiced his concerns in that school board meeting. I was glad to see that logic and common sense prevailed. You know what I'm saying? That what was going to happen at Walnut Hills was going to be less than 2 feet. I don't care what they tell you. It was going to be less than 2 feet, period. Talking about nasal to nasal. Get the hell out of here. It ain't safe. And, oh, boy, Ben Lindy is never going to live that down. Remember when he said that? It came back to bite him, because like 5, 6 parents kept bringing it up. Like, oh, you got a school board member that didn't want to eat lunch with his colleagues, but you're going to tell kids and parents that we got to send our kids into school buildings where they're going to spend 40 minutes with no mask on in a closer proximity than you're sitting with your colleagues, and it's less of them, but you don't feel comfortable. You and your wife don't eat out because of COVID, but you're going to vote for our kids to do what you're not willing to do. He ain't going to live that down. It is what it is. I didn't say it. He said it. Parents was 100% right to bring that up. I'm glad they did. Bravo, bravo, parents. Way to go. Way to go. It's the power of the people and the power of independent media. Don't overlook it. Hey, what's up, Ron? What's up, man? What's up with you? He writes, hello, Nate. What's up? What's up? What's up? Good to see you, brother. As always, Joya writes, yep. Damon writes, why nobody has a plan? A lot of not knowing what's possible and making what's necessary possible. One thing that came out tonight was there was a lot of questions that hadn't been answered. And I'm thinking to myself, how do you make a decision during a pandemic? And there were so many unanswered questions. Shouldn't you have answered these questions before you voted? Just bad decision making by members of the board. How do you make a decision without all of the available information and without having answered all of the available questions possible when you're dealing with health? I mean, even in tonight, they're asking questions that seem very basic to me. Shouldn't you have had these answers before you make this decision? And you got the nerve to come into the public, to go into the Nathan Ivey show and try to articulate this nonsense to us as if we're not smart enough to say, this is some bullshit. This don't make no sense. So I'm glad to see that I and we were not alone in this, family. It didn't make sense back then. It didn't make sense 2 weeks ago. It don't make sense today. And it sounds like finally they came to their senses, because it was just an avalanche. You had students that was calling in like, look, I go to Walnut Hills. We don't like this. It was getting personal. One woman got cut off. I don't know if she started cursing or whatever, or she just went straight ad hominem, but the school board or somebody cut her off. It was very, very obvious. She was knives out. Knives was out. People talking about you're not going to be reelected. That's a long time before now in an election. I mean, the Cincinnatians, let's just say I've observed the Cincinnatians, it's hard for them to keep it up. You know what I'm saying? We'll see. You know what I'm saying? The movement might go flaccid. We'll see. But again, I thought this was a big win for common sense, a big win for the health, a big win for all the Walnut Hills families, and a big win for independent media. We were on the front lines of pushing this conversation into the public space. So we had as much information as possible. And while people might try to play it down, I know for a fact that our interviews, the interviews that we conducted, that I conducted on this show, had a huge impact in opening the eyes of the public about where the board, so I'm out of focus. There it is. Where the board was and how they arrived at their decision. Again, as the person doing the interviews, I was like, what? I mean, do she understand? Do they understand how this sounds? It sounded ridiculous. Melody writes, I love Mr. Ganulan, the lawyer. Let them know that we know our own city's health department wasn't even consulted about the schools reopening. That came out. The health department wasn't consulted about the school board opening. They had no impact and input whatsoever. So who are these local health officials that the CPS board and the superintendent kept talking about? They're talking about Children's Hospital. Doesn't it just make sense that during a pandemic that you would incorporate the scientific knowledge, the health knowledge from the city of Cincinnati Health Department? It just kind of makes sense. I don't know, were they coordinating with the Hamilton County Health Department? I don't know. But if you're Cincinnati Public Schools, it makes sense to coordinate with the Cincinnati Public Health Department. To me, that was quite interesting that it didn't come out. That was quite interesting. Tanya writes, Late Night with Nate and the Insomniac Crew. Okay, I like that. Late Night Nate and the Insomniatics, or the Insomniac Crew. Okay, something like that. Angela writes, they couldn't even give a good reason for the kids going back to school. None of them from the board at all. You did a great job, Nate, bringing them on your show. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Thank you for that. Because most people will not try to give us any credit here on the show. They will not. They want to get credit everybody else. And I'm not saying it was us 100%. No, it was all the folks, all the people in some of these Facebook groups. People started to get organized. But we certainly played a role. Again. Again. It's a little independent show from Cincinnati. Just keeps on tugging, right? We will make a difference in the community. Again, it's not really about anybody acknowledging it, because I already know. We already know what we're doing here. We already know we got something special. Other people trying to do what we doing. You know what I'm saying? They're looking at us like, you know what? I'm going to do what Nate's doing. Michael writes, wow, breaking news. The Nate Nightly News. Can a brother get a weather forecast and a traffic update? Where the weather is snowy outside. That's what the weather is. Emmy writes, the students did such a great job standing up for themselves. You are so right, Emmy. Those students, man, oh my God, it just warmed my heart. Every time somebody opened the microphone, it was a student, I was all ears. Eloquent, passionate, timely, relevant, cogent, informed. I love it. And these are the students. Shame on the board for making this decision without getting input from the families. Because as I said weeks before, if they had taken a poll in late December or early January, then overwhelmingly the parents would have suggested and concluded that we want you to stay virtual. And I believe that's the reason why the school board didn't do it. Because they was holding on, man. They was holding on to that nonsense. Some of them school board members did not want to give it up. But we got to go back. It's not going to be fair, man. If you don't shut the hell up and do what's best for public health, knock it off. Please like and share this, family, so people know we on right now. It's very, very important. This is Late Night Nate. Late Night Nate. Anything after 9 p.m., I'm calling it Late Night Nate. It's the Late Night Nate show. The students, man, are excellent. Bravo. Bravo to the students. Bravo. And then I'm just listening to, it was just an avalanche. And yeah, you had maybe two, it was at least two. It could have been one more and I just missed it. But I heard two parents offer a contrary opinion. And you don't make a decision based upon the minority. Where they do that at? So 90% of the people, and I'm just making this number up. So 90% of Walnut Hills parents are saying stay virtual, but you're going to make a decision based upon 10%? Where they do that at? That's not democratic. What the hell? Is it like some kind of electoral college vote or something like that? No, No, it made no sense. It was so eloquent. It was beautiful. It was overwhelming. It was overwhelming. The public outcry. And see, what I would say to the public is we got to keep this same energy. Whatever you've built, whatever grassroots, the formations of it with some of these Facebook groups, keep that same energy. Keep it going, because there's always going to be a new need for the public to create organizations that can put pressure on the school system. There's always going to be a need for that. With data, with passion, with intelligence, there's always going to be a need for that. And I think it doesn't have to be adversarial. I think it's all in line. Like, everybody wants the best thing with this. This thing does not have to be about us versus them. Everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants the kids to return to 5 days a week. Everybody wants that. And by everybody, I'm speaking about the general everybody. You might find some folks out there who found that virtual learning is better for them. Okay. But, these last second, additions by the superintendent. Oh, I wasn't prepared to talk about this, but we've got some new stuff we can do with CDA. We don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that. When last second means it's going to be whack. Michelle writes, Walnut Hill students were amazing in the public comment. That's right. You educate them. Well, everybody says that these Walnut Hill students are something different. They cut from a different cloth. Okay? They're the best of the best that Cincinnati Public Schools has to offer. And then when we get into a crisis, you don't want to listen to them. That makes sense? You want to brag about their test scores, but you don't want to listen to them when there's a crisis and they have a contrary opinion. I thought it was beautiful. Keep that same energy. Don't let that go. Sister Iris writes, good evening, great people. Good to see you, Sister Iris. Rome writes, I've been sick for a year from the virus. Thank God I have been off work for next month and will be retiring. Is that right? That brother does good work. Working with him now. See that artwork up there at the top? That's him. Dope work. Lemmy writes, stood up for your agenda. Kudos, absolutely. Tracy writes, Nate, breaking news. You already know it. Iris writes, the students gave me life. Me too. It was so good to see the students standing up and rising up and letting their voice be heard. Smith writes, good evening, choppers. Mikey writes, Mike Morosky to his values and made a motion that will win. Props. He said he was going to do it. He stood by it. I'm glad he didn't get off of it. He stayed with it. I felt like he was getting some headwind and some pushback, from some of this board members. And, can you explain it? And again, maybe they just wanted to make sure they understood what they was doing, which I completely acknowledge. And I think it's fair. They should always know what they're voting on and be voting, with a purpose. I get it 100%. Ben Lindy, boy. Woo, that's going to come up again, Ben. Ben, if you're watching, that's going to come up again. You're going to have to do something, bro. I don't know what you can do at this point because the video is out. But there's no way, and maybe I'm not sure how he voted on this. I can't remember. But on one hand, you don't feel comfortable eating with your colleagues. You want to go to a different room, but you're going to send our kids into the same room for 40 minutes with no mask on. Brother, that's a hypocritical move right there. And you talking about life and death? So you think you better than our kids? Your life is worth more than our children? I don't think so, bro. I try to tell you about him. I try to tell you. Angela writes, how can you go from 6 feet to 3 feet and eat in class without a mask, period? That's why I said the CPS wasn't ready to go back. Because the math just doesn't make sense. And every time the governor or the CDC changes something, we can't stop thinking. We still got to use critical thinking and apply it to our unique situation here in Cincinnati. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Smith writes, good evening, choppers. Good morning to you. David writes, so what was the final decision? The final decision is that Walnut Hills will remain virtual until the entire district is safe to go 3 feet. Personally, I think that the whole district should have stayed that way. Again, what this opens up is now if you are, and again, the reason why this is different for Walnut Hills is because of the density of the students in comparison to the square footage of the building. So it's a small building in relationship to the population size. Okay. So if you talk to any Walnut Hills students, what they'll tell you is that when you're walking between classes, it's like a mosh pit. You know what a mosh pit is? It's like, I think it's like the term became very popular to describe like that center row of some of these, you know, like these public bands. I want to say rock bands. I think that's where I most closely, identify that term from, mosh pit. And basically it's like everybody's densely, like you shoulder to shoulder in here. That's what it's like at Walnut Hills. And that's the reason why it's not that Walnut Hills is special. It's just that they need a bigger building, to house all those folks. And so it needs to be looked upon uniquely. And as a Walnut Hills parent, when I got the plan, I'm like, this is some dumbish. I let my daughter read it. She was like, Dad, this is some dumbish. Everybody said it was some dumbish. And this is a pandemic. We're still in the red, people, and you got variants out there. You don't know what's going to happen. So to me, this was a decision about common sense. But if you have a child that doesn't attend Walnut Hills, you got to be looking like this, like, what? Oh, so they kids don't have to go? If my child didn't go to Walnut Hills and I have one child that doesn't attend Walnut Hills, and that's what I'm looking like, wait a minute. Then why is any of the schools, stopping virtual? And it's part of the reason why, in my humble opinion, and I don't get a chance to vote, they should have remained virtual across the board. It would have made sense across the board, but we are where we are. We are. Kelly writes, sounds like another show for my fellow Eagles. Excellence. Glad to hear the students' voice, that what they had to say and the power their voices have. Love my alma mater. All schools should be a Walnut though. Not cool. I agree. All schools should have whatever Walnut has. All schools should have. Happy Day writes, they never make sense. El Grio writes, and it don't make sense. That is not the whole district. I agree. Angela's looking. Lemmy writes, correct, all schools, exactly. Tracy writes, what the hell is going on here? It's called Late Night Nate. Cincy, let's not forget, Nate, you helped this fight. Oh, absolutely. I already know. Listen, if I don't let the world know, nobody else is. Happy Day writes, your interviews were great. That's why I do them. That's why I'm here. And I ain't going nowhere. Thank you, writes Andrea. Very welcome. JD writes, wow. What's up, JD? Good to see you. Oh, yeah. The CPS board was lying and they got caught. Oh, boy, let me tell you. When they put that up on YouTube, I hope it's up on YouTube tomorrow, because we're going to go through all of it tomorrow morning at 7:30 a.m. Maybe a little bit after 7:30 a.m., to be honest with you. Could be 7:40. All right. But make sure you subscribe to us here on CDM and you'll get the update. On top of all of this, I want to make Black History during the Black History Month. I want to do something for the culture. In fact, we are going to do something for the culture, and I want you to play a big part in it. Yeah. It's the power of the people that we saw on display last night. And again, shout out to Mike Morosky, because he opened the door and it kept pushing for these issues and bringing up, I thought, really and very good points and good questions that forced the administration and the other board members to really think about it. And ultimately, we know what happened. Okay, that and the fact that you had a snow apocalypse. And so I get the feeling that the school board members like, you know what? Yes. Now, can I get home, please? Yes, whatever you say. Can I go home? Happy Day writes, did one of the board members toward the end say they shouldn't go by the CDC guidelines? I do believe so. I got to go back and watch it again. just to make sure. Janice writes, I'm awake too. Are you, Janice? Neil writes, can we also continue to talk about the other schools, not just Walnut? Glad Walnut will remain remote. Well, Neil, again, from day one, I thought it was a bad idea for any school to come out of virtual. It just didn't make a lot of sense per the available science. And the available science is that right now we are in the red. When they made this decision, they were in the purple. That's another thing that Mike Morosky didn't let them get away with last night or earlier this morning or this evening. And that is, he's like, well, no. Let's be here. When we made the decision, we was in the purple. I think it's very important to be specific, to be very, very specific so people understand how they made this decision. And then with some of the questions that were coming up tonight, I'm just amazed that the school board was in a position to even make a decision back on the 20th or back in December. I'm amazed by that, but it is what it is. We'll see if any school board members want to talk to me. They all could hate my guts right now. I'm sure I'm not the number one fan of the school board members, but I don't give a damn. It is what it is. God didn't put me here to be friends with everybody. But what none of them can say is that I got personal with them or got ad hominem or any kind of way. I keep it on the issues, in my opinion, about the issues and their decisions. And I try to make a huge separation between personal observations and then observations about the decisions that they make. Two completely different things. But we'll see. I'll reach out. We'll see. We'll see. Jerome writes, I love Late Night with Nate. That's right. Late Night Nate. That's what I'm calling this. This brother Ozzy, he had great commentary. Yes, it was great. He was on the board. It was great coming from somebody who was on the board. So he was a colleague with some of these individuals, all of these individuals, save for one. I think it's very, very important. And he brought that hot fire. Thank you, Nate, for keeping the issues at hand. You are truly making a difference. I appreciate you. Sister Iris writes, it's snowing. Somebody asked about the weather report. Yeah, it is snowing. Neil writes, yes, you and Shonda and your listeners made a difference. Thank you. Oh, absolutely. That's why the choppers are here, man. That's what we do. Frene writes, it's all about Walnut. Yeah, so all the information was about Walnut. Unfortunately, they didn't make a decision about the district. I would have learned from them to turn a decision on the district. I think that just would have been appropriate for me personally. Again, I've got a daughter at Walnut, so she's going to be affected by this. She's asleep right now. When she wakes up in the morning, she's going to get the good news. She's going to be very, very happy. Her anxiety level was going up. I thought it was some excellent points made about the anxiety levels that was going up for parents and in particular for students. It seems like the board only had a one-track mind, but they can only understand this in the sense of being in school, right? What about the anxiety of the kids not in school? But what about the anxiety of the kids who are forced to go back to school now? Can you hear those sirens? And they don't really feel like, that school is ready to go back. But I was glad to see that was brought up. I thought it was excellent. JD writes, can we get some students on air tomorrow? You know what? I am in contact with one of the student-led groups, and I'm trying to nail it down. I'm going to reach out via email again before I go to sleep tonight to see if we can confirm that for tomorrow morning, because I agree with you. I would love to hear from some students. That would be excellent. Now, the only difference is that students are going to be in class tomorrow, right? They're going to be in class tomorrow starting, 8, 9? So that might be a little bit difficult for some of them to be a part of it when they're supposed to be in class in the morning. But I'll put every effort available and forward to try to get some of them on, because I love to hear what they think. Bless writes, late night chat. You know it. Jared writes, glad to see Walnut Hills is not going back. Great job, Nate. # team and I. Irish writes, this is what democracy looks like. Happy Day writes, they are not worried about what the staff, students, or CDC says. Bless writes, definitely will hit the like and I will share. Thank you so much. Hey, Mike, it's Mike Morosky, everybody writes, hey, Nate, hey, Mike, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you for doing what you said you're going to do. And then staying the course and not getting knocked off. To me, it was about life and death. Life and death. Nothing short of that. This is not about personal preference. For me personally, I want my kids in school. If you want to talk about what's easier for me, it's easier for me if my kids are in school. That's where I think it should be. I think it's better for them. And I think it's better for them academically and for their social and emotional well being. Okay. I would love that my son was in school 5 days a week. But I mean, at this point, he's not, and we will have to make things do. But at Walnut Hills, in terms of the building size, bad idea. Bad idea. Mike writes, the students were amazing. Yes, they were. Absolutely. Ozzy writes, late night Nate. That's dope. Thank you so much. Late night Nate. I'll pop in, from time to time. I'm a night owl. Okay. I'm a night owl who had to learn to be a morning person. Because it's hard to be a night owl and a morning person. It is. To be your best in the morning. To be your best, that means you got to go to sleep. So I'm sort of betraying my inner instincts, my Virgo instincts, when I go to bed early in the evening so I can get up early. Late night, man, I love it. The house is quiet. The kids are sleeping. I'm completely uninterrupted. It's dark outside. Any night owls out there? Oh, man, I do some of my best work this time of night. So from time to time moving forward, I'll do a late night show. We'll call it late night Nate, something after 9 p.m., after 10 p.m. on the late night tip when all the kids are asleep. Really, I originally got this idea to talk about anything but politics because we talk about so much politics on the morning show. But, tonight's a little bit different. Sarah has a GoFundMe. Check that out, everybody. I'm not sure what that's all about. Neil writes, they tried to demonize you, Mr. Morosky. Yeah, they came for him. Jody writes, we got OZ Davis and Mike Morosky in the house. I know. We out here looking good on the late night tip. OZ writes, keep this energy 100%. Keep the same energy. You know I will. This is what I do. This is the only energy I have. But in terms of the folks out there that have coalesced, come together, start these parent organizations, start to make connections, don't give that up. Keep it going. And not in a way that has to be adversarial with CPS. It doesn't have to be adversarial, but in a way in which if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. You know what I'm saying? There are a lot of issues before CPS that CPS could use a strong community partner, right? In the form of the parents. There's a lot of issues that they'll need help on. Okay. So keep that same energy. I think it's super important. Super important. Angela writes, Walnut Hills went and stood for themselves. Every other school should too. We are all in this together. Save our children and staff from the pandemic. I'm with you. Iris writes, this continuous pushing is critical. Is absolutely critical as everything. Let me rise, run Ozzy for the board again. I second that. Happy Day writes, I think Walnut Hills High School is great, but we need safety in all schools. Stay virtual. I agree with you 100%. 100%. Neil writes, I'm glad to see Walnut Hills. Glad Walnut stood up. Wish other schools could have had the chance. I agree. Iris writes, best statement of the night. I'm confused. OZ Davis. Yeah, he did say that. He was like, I'm confused. I don't get Ozzy. I was confused in the interviews. I'm like, what are they talking about? One after another. I'm like, huh? What are you talking about? What you're saying doesn't make any sense. And, Carolyn was trying to hold on to it. I don't remember how she voted, but she was holding on to it like, I'm going to hold on to this. I ain't letting go. They going back. I'm like, sis, relax your grip. Relax your grip. Let it go. Do what's best for public health is what I believe they did. Mike writes, yes, we need all caps, everyone to stay engaged as we rebuild the district. Absolutely. Somebody writes, proud to be a Walnut Hills alumni. Nzinga James. Somebody writes, thank you to Mr. Mike Morosky. Rick Junette writes, good evening, late night Nate and the Insomniac. So when will they give us some concrete guidelines and criteria to follow? We still haven't received that. 411, that was an excellent point that Mike Morosky made about having a concrete guideline that the district could use to go back. I don't understand how this is so difficult. I mean, who, like a lot of adults work, right? Like a lot of these board members, I don't know all their business, but I guess some of them have jobs outside of being a board member. And they work in environments where they want to know what to expect before it happens. They want to know guidelines. Like when I do a review, an annual review, what guidelines am I going to be judged upon that'll be the difference between me getting a raise and not getting a raise? So if you want that in your professional setting, as a professional school board member interacting with the public, why wouldn't you want to give that to the public? Every adult works best on consistency and knowing what to expect. All of us. Who doesn't want consistency and knowing what to expect? We all work best in those kind of scenarios. And CPS needs to do that. If you set up guidelines, then damn it, you need to follow the guidelines. And if you don't, you need to invest in a quality communication campaign, okay, that might be of some length to fully articulate and communicate to the community why you are changing it. That's called respect. That's called respect. Anybody that does any kind of review for, like a lot of these jobs, they do like an annual review. And then the best review, in my opinion, have been somebody who either was on both sides of it. Like, I had employees, in under my purview that I had to do reviews for. And I was an employee and had to go to supervisors of my position. I don't know about you, but the best reviews are the reviews in which there are no surprises. Any managers out there? You should not be surprised when you sit down on either level. You shouldn't be surprised if you're receiving the critique and the review. And if you're giving the review, you shouldn't be surprising anybody. They should know exactly what to expect, and they should know exactly where they are when they walk into the room. The review should really just be going over things you've already discussed. If that's not happening, then wait a minute, I'm not focusing. Somebody's not doing their job. If your boss, if that's the best way to put it, if your boss surprises you during the review process, you're like, well, why didn't you tell me this? You're going to be mad as hell. Like, wait a minute. I could have corrected this if you told me this 3 months ago. You let me do the wrong thing for 3 months and then you want to dock me or not give me the full raise, you would be pissed, wouldn't you? So what makes the board think that we're not going to be pissed if you set up a list of criteria and then you don't abide by them? Huh? Similarly, if you are an employer or a supervisor and you're surprising your employees like, yeah, we've been observing you doing this for 2 months, you're not doing your job. That's a bad boss right there. You should be correcting these things in the moment, and you should be sticking to the prearranged criteria and guidelines that you're going to use to judge people by. Ain't no surprises. The review should be a formality where you're just going over a long list of things you've been discussing for the whole year. Tell me I'm wrong on that, family. I knows what I'm talking about. Okay? So you come up with this list of criteria, and then you wonder why members of the parents and the community never really said anything to you about it until the last minute. That's because we thought you was going by what you said earlier. So I heard the phrase lack of trust. Yep, that's true. You can't tell people one thing and then do something completely different or not honor your word and think they're going to keep looking at you the same way. It's just, you can't do that. You can't do that. Janice writes, the question is, will all other school students be treated the same as Walnut? There are equally smart children in other schools. They just don't have the same support. Well, I mean, this is going to be a public relations issue now, because the perception, I don't think, is the reality. As I understand it, the reason why Walnut Hills was looked upon or judged by a different standard is because the uniqueness of the building situation. It's not because of academics, it's because they've got a high concentration of students per the available square footage in the building. So when CPS starts to make these decisions, that it's on some levels based upon the reasonable ability to provide a learning environment where you're 3 feet or 6 feet apart, then the square footage and the reasonableness of, in terms of the ability of these particular school buildings to do that, has to come into question. But again, that's going to be a public relations issue that the board's going to have to deal with, which was just another reason as to why I thought that they should all the schools should remain virtual. Just give it a little bit more time. We're almost there. Damn humans. It's like a zombie apocalypse, and we got to go to the bunker for 30 days. And on the 27th day, somebody just got to get some fresh air and open up the doors, and then zombies come flooding in. Hold on, sis. You can get some fresh air real soon. We just need 3 more days. I'm using an analogy here. Hopefully you can follow me. You know what I'm saying? It's just like the sci-fi movies. Always one that messes up for everybody. We in a bunker during a zombie apocalypse for 60 days. We get to day 55, and now you want to kook out. Talking about, I can't breathe. You've been breathing fine for 55 days. You don't need to open the door. Same thing with the school, man. I mean, listen, nobody wants to be quarantined. Nobody wants their children to be outside of the school building. Everybody wants their kids to be inside the school building. This is not what anyone wants, but we're almost there. We just need a little bit more time and a little bit more information. And some things are kind of different out there. I mean, listen to some of these school board members, man, they would have you believe that COVID has been bit. We beat COVID a long time ago. Oh, yeah. COVID? What's that? Never heard of it. Huh? Come on now. Let's be real about what we know, focus, and what we don't know, focus. There we go. Somebody writes, Ben Lindy, you suck. He's going to have to deal with that. I'm sure he's a very nice guy. But you know, it is what it is. I mean, you can't save people from themselves. I mean, that moment did happen. It's going to be forever enshrined in people's memory. And it's going to probably come up when he runs for re-election. The next time I call to Ben Lindy, I'm certainly going to bring it up. So, I mean, it is what it is, which is probably why we won't talk with Ben Lindy for a while. We'll see. We're trying to stay in focus here. Let me see. Mike writes, Ben voted for the motion. Great. He better have voted for the motion. Because how you going to vote against a motion, then you talking about how you don't want to eat with your colleagues? That's just a really tough one. That's a real tough one right there. Bless writes, Nate, for those who are out of the loop but care about the community, please provide an update on the meeting. Yeah, I'm doing that right now. Let me see. Iris writes to Mike, the treasurer said the governor promised $69 million to the district and an additional $20 million. Did I hear that correctly? ? Maurice writes, I'll take it, but we have to stay vigilant. They only voted remote for Walnut Hills High School until they can justify 3 feet. Unsafe distancing for all schools without clear decision-making guidelines. You're very right about that, Marcy. You're very right about that. Tina writes, glad they finally listened. Now, what about the rest of the schools? Neil writes, 6 feet in other schools is not real either, believe me. Well, no, we know it's not. We know it's not. Sarah writes, had to bury my husband's brother that died from COVID on Saturday. We are raising money for his 7 kids that he left behind. Oh, man, thoughts and prayers, condolences to you and your family. She continues, this could have been prevented if his children weren't in school or in after-school activities. If anybody wants to donate in here, this is the link. And she's got the link right there, everybody. So if you feel inclined to do so, please share with that family right there. Damn. Like I said, I mean, to me, every life is precious. Every life is precious. And you can't learn a damn thing when you're dead. That is terrible. Neil said, we are in the eye of the storm. Yeah, looking pretty, I don't know, you might want to say bad. I'll look at it as good. I'm lucky to be alive. So to be able to see the snow and the weather is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Jennifer writes, thanks, Nathan Ivy. Oh, absolutely. Lemmy writes, love it. Late night, Nate. Tasha writes, great info. Glad they saw the truth. Me too. Absolutely. Anza writes, I bet they were ready to get out of there. LOL. Yeah. We got to thank the snow too. Thank the snow. Because the snow played a role too. They was looking out there like, oh my God, these people keep talking. I'm trying to get home. Don't they know I got to drive and all this nonsense? I mean, welcome to life as a school board member. I hope everybody got home safely, though. Everybody got home safely. Neil writes, thank you, Mr. Ivy. Iris writes, this is the bomb. JD writes, snowing, question mark. Wow, it's 80 here. See, she got to rub it in. She living it good. And that's in that southern climate. Enjoy it. Jennifer writes, the whipsawing on decision is awful for all of us. I agree. Neil writes, the board makes knee-jerk react decisions and then reflects and second guesses. Makes them look weak. Jennifer writes, my son is available after 3 p.m. Okay, Jennifer. Okay, great. So maybe what I'll do is set up some interviews in the afternoon. Now, tomorrow, got a bunch of phone calls. I'm in conversation with a lot of folks right now as we get ready to kick off a brand new platform here in the city of Cincinnati. And then a couple of shows. So of course, you got Midday Juice tomorrow at 1 p.m. And then you got the Valet Service podcast at 7 p.m. And then at 4 p.m., I'm doing a tester podcast sort of behind closed doors to see what it looks like. It's a slightly different type of idea too. So hopefully you'll get into it if we get to the point where, we actually present it to the public. My style was just a little bit different. I don't want to put anything just out there. What I'm interested in doing is creating quality podcast experiences, quality live stream experiences. And so to do that, it takes some time. I do a lot of stuff behind closed doors where we do tester shows. Then we'll put it out there, when the time is right. Rather than just kicking it out there and trying to fix everything and to fly in front of everybody. That's not really my style. So I shared that to say that I've got 2 of those set up in the afternoon. So tomorrow, I believe my time is taken, quite honestly. In my show, get ready for Midday Juice. And then, after that, I've got a bunch of things already set up. So Jennifer, if we can do something, it'll probably be, as I think about it here, tomorrow is almost totally gone. It'll probably have to be on Wednesday, quite honestly. I mean, Valet Service podcast will end about 8 p.m. You know what I'm saying? And then I may have a phone call about 8:15 p.m. With some good folks. So again, just a lot of stuff going on, family. A lot of stuff going on. But I'm down though. So if it can't be tomorrow, and it can't be during the show itself, then Wednesday my time is a bit more open. So it's Thursday. So I'm dedicated to get it in though. I'm dedicated to get it in for sure. Lori writes, lunch is at 11:10. I think that's Black Lion, Tykar and Bisa. He wants to know, are we taking phone calls? I guess I was when I first kicked it off, man. But at this point, I'm nearly at the end of the show. I'm almost at the end of my wick, so to speak, and I need to go to bed. So I got to get up and be bright and early and ready to go in about 6 hours. You know what I'm saying? Hey, what's up, Terrence? What's up, Terrence? Good to see you. Janice writes, I am a night owl. SJ Roper writes, hey, late night Nate, great information shared. Angela writes, I am a night owl. It's called self-time. Yeah, okay. It is called self-time. Nothing like, especially when you have children. My son is all over me, and I love it. But you can't get a lot of stuff done. He wants to play Marvel Heroes, and then he wants to play all the games. He wants to sit in my lap. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. You know what I'm saying? But when everybody's asleep, the house is quiet. Hold on. I don't hear anything. The house is completely quiet. I love it. Janice writes, I am a night owl. Good morning to you. Sister Iris writes, or good evening to you. Sister Iris writes, late night Nate, this is Black History, 100%. Yeah, I want to make Black history. I want to make local Black history. Laurie writes, thank goodness for Mike Morosky. I'm like, you can say that again. You got to say that again. Michael writes, Nate, bring back the Quiet Storm. Instead of slow jams, make a spoken word based on daily topics. Let me sit with that. Jerome writes, I do my best art and photography at night. Oh man, I get my best work in at night. And then I'll tell you the other thing I like is I like to get up really early, like 4:30. Love to get about 4:30. I got a good 3 hours before the show has to start. If I already got my topics, that gives me well enough time to kind of think about how I want to deliver my flows. I love it. It's really dark outside. It's usually quiet in the house. Nobody interrupts me. You know what I'm saying? It's beautiful. I love it. I get my best work done at night. Marche writes, I'm sad at the lack of care by most of the board members. It was disturbing to watch the body language and lack of care. It's pretty sad. We need leaders like Mike and Ozzy who get it. Ozzy, you got next. Lori writes, I am proud of our students eloquently speaking truth to power. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. Terrence writes, Walnut Hills always advocates for itself differently than other schools within CPS. Neela writes, I love CPS, but they are blind right now. Cedric writes, most of the CPS board should be ashamed of themselves. It should be one CPS district at the end of the day, but I get it. Hey, what's up, Cedric? Good to see you, sir. I gotta catch up with you, man. Let's get it popping, man. Let's get it popping. I'm ready. Kelly writes, this has been a national public health catastrophe, and you have to stand up for yourself to protect yourself when national efforts fail. This pandemic did not have to still be this bad a year later, but it is. So gotta stand your ground and keep yourself in safe situations like this. I'm with you 100%. 100%. Let me see. Lisa writes, unfortunately, most students at other CPS schools don't have that type of support from their parents. I just really feel like, I think the reason why the board made this decision is because they all acknowledged that in terms of just the spacing, that it was going to be different at Walnut Hills. The spacing was going to be more of a challenge at Walnut Hills. And so I think for them, many of them expressed that it was like, well, damn, people going to say we doing something different. I think Pam Bowers made that point. People going to say we doing something different for Walnut Hills. But I'm less concerned about what people say, and I'm more concerned about doing the right thing by public health. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm just saying, keep it real. Tanya writes, Nate, that is absolutely 100. I tell my team that all the time. The communication is ongoing, so there is no surprises, right? Yeah, when you're doing reviews and stuff like that, like employee reviews, your employees should never be surprised by what you tell them at the end of the year. And you should never be surprised by what your employer tells you. If everybody on top of their game, they're communicating throughout the year, and whatever decision they arrive at, you already know. Shouldn't be no big surprise. It should be consistent to what the prearranged guidelines are going to be. That's the analogy I was making with CPS. They didn't do that. They changed it because it seemed to benefit their conclusion, at least some of them, which was back to school. What do we got to do to get you back to school? Hey, listen, I'm with that too. When it makes sense. And not a moment before that. Angela writes, Walnut Hills is small for the capacity of children it holds, period, to be in a pandemic. I agree. Terrence writes, Nate, this happened before when CPS was facing cuts somewhere between the late 90s, circa 95, 99. They were going to remove copiers and lose books like other kids. We resisted that at Walnut. And yes, Walnut does have a different building construct than other schools. It all plays, right? Yes, Walnut is overcrowded, but other high schools have curriculum issues that CDA can't address, vocational education, etc. I agree, 100%. Neil writes, Lindy is TFA. Marche writes, he better have voted LOL. That's pressure for you, right? Yeah, it just would have been a bad look for Ben Lindy if he stood by that vote, considering his comments. And it would have came back to bite him and haunt him over. He never would have lived that down. He may still never live that down. But by voting for this measure, at least he doesn't seem like a hypocrite as it relates to Walnut Hills. Now, outside of Walnut Hills, with other school districts, I mean, the other districts in the school, they can step up to Ben Lindy and say, well, wait a minute, how are you going to vote for my child to be in a scenario that you yourself don't want to be in because you feel like it's unsafe? That is completely legitimate. And nobody can save him from that. I mean, he made the comment, he made the vote. He's an elected official. He's going to have to deal with that. He's a smart guy. I'm sure he'll figure it all out. Or people may not care. They may not care. What's up, Sean? Sean writes, Nate, this is great. Terrence writes, Walnut also existed before the last 100-year pandemic. Is that right? Let me see here. Black Lion here going nuts. One good thing about this pandemic and the school board issue is that I found your show. Thanks. I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. Rick Jeanette writes, now that we are woke, can we please stay awake and keep pressing the board to create a process and continuous improvement plans that stick with them? This honestly goes beyond COVID. Rick Jeanette is so on point. She's so on point with this. Hey, listen, folks, I just wanted to come with you and just for a little bit and talk about the news. I need to make a move here because I'm at the end of my rope, so to speak. But I'll be back with you and hopefully better than ever in the morning at 7:30 p.m.-ish. 7:30 p.m.-ish, to be honest with you. All right. Have an excellent rest of your evening to all my night owls, to the folks going to bed. Sweet dreams. We'll talk in the morning. Have an excellent rest of your evening. I'm Nathan Ivy, or should I say, this is Late Night Nate. Until the next time, I'm out.